7:30's political editor Jacob Greber joins me now. Jacob, welcome. What do we think about the rest of the year? Is this it for the year, or is there more good news on interest rates to come?
Certainly it's relief for people with those mortgages, really quite substantial relief when you add up the fact that there's now a third one, someone with a $700,000 mortgage, I should say, is going to be ahead by about $5,000 a year. So that is meaningful. Of course, that ignores the fact that rates have gone up so far in the last 3 years. Now, on the question of what comes next, certainly there are signs that there's a bit more to come on this front. Another cut by the end of the year is almost fully priced in by the financial market around about the Melbourne Cup Day meeting, so that will flow through. And then what happens early next year, we'll have to wait and see, and that was certainly the sense you got from the bank today. They're still looking at what happens with this global trade war that's broken out, how that flows out, how that affects our biggest trade partner, such as China, for instance. Those are all issues that they're watching and monitoring carefully, Sarah.
Now, as I just referred to, Jacob, in the intro, Governor Michelle Bullock also warned that productivity isn't going to land where they thought it was going to land. What is going on? I thought this is a very big diversion from their targets, isn't it?
Quite frankly, there's a lot of happy talk on productivity in some of these official forecasts that we've seen over the years, whether it's Treasury or the Reserve Bank. And what we got today was a pretty stark wake-up that it just doesn't look great looking out into the future. The Reserve Bank thinks that we'll have much weaker productivity growth. Now, that's quite often a technical term economists sort of beat each other over the head with, but what it means is lower living standards, lower growth, an economy that doesn't have the capacity it should have to build income for the future, and that's just not a great setup. It's interesting that they've put this out today. It actually took away quite a bit of attention from the interest rate cut. Michelle Bullock was actually frustrated at one point by all the journalists focusing on this issue rather than talking up this interest rate cut that she ushered through today. And of course, we know next week the government's got its, I don't know if we call it a productivity roundtable or an economic roundtable, but that is essentially being called to address this very issue, this very question of lifting productivity. But Sarah, if it was so easy, it would have been done. And that's where it's going to get challenging for the government next week. This expectation's been raised that something will come out of it. But we're frankly getting mixed signals about the level of ambition. It started out being something that would have everything on the table. The inevitable happened. People put all their ideas on the table, and the government's in the last week or so really shut that back down, reined it in. It's now more in the realm of a deregulation summit. Maybe there's something on housing. Maybe there's something on things like, for instance, road user charging. They're the sort of levels of ambition, but it's within a tight box, Sarah. It's not looking like a big piece of work that will set the agenda coming down the track. And of course, the Prime Minister's made it clear. He's going to deliver what he took to the last election in this term. So prospects of something that can lift productivity in the near term, I think, aren't great.
And just briefly, Jacob, obviously we had a big day on international policy with the government's announcement that it would recognise a Palestinian state at the UN in September. Did we hear from the opposition today?
So they have held a shadow cabinet meeting, and they've come to the conclusion that, well, we knew they didn't like this idea, but they're now saying they will reverse it when they get back into office at some point in the future. So that would actually be potentially quite unprecedented. Once Australia has recognised as a country another state, that doesn't tend to go backwards ever. And they're saying they will reverse this decision. They're very much saying they're aligning themselves with the United States. They're saying this is our most important ally. We do not want to be at odds with them on this very threshold question. And I think it's just another thing that will inevitably trickle through to the White House which, as we know, has not yet been able to line up a meeting with our own Prime Minister. This will be one of those niggles there that continues in the relationship. Now, whether they are ever in a position to actually do this, we'll have to wait and see. If they win government in 3 years or in 6 years or whenever, who knows what the situation on the ground in Palestine is at that point, or the Palestinian territories at that point in time.
Jacob, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Talk to you shortly.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks a lot.